There comes a time in life when we stop counting how many people love us and start noticing how many people truly understand us. Some relationships are full of conversations, yet leave us lonely. Others are built on silence, yet somehow make us feel completely seen. The older I grow, the more I realize that trust is not the absence of questions, it is the presence of faith. It is knowing that the person standing before you may not always explain every decision, but believing that they had a reason. Today's story is about a young woman who discovered that the hardest burden in life is not carrying someone else's expectations. It is constantly carrying the need to explain yourself. This is the story of the unspoken bond. Aarti was a talented graphic designer in Mumbai. Her days were filled with client meetings, deadlines, and endless creative chaos. One afternoon, she was presenting an important project. Her phone remained on silent for nearly an hour. When the meeting ended, she looked at her screen. 6 missed calls from Rahul, her fiancé. She called him back immediately. "I'm so sorry, Rahul. I was in a presentation." There was a pause. "I saw you online on WhatsApp 5 minutes ago." Aarti smiled nervously. "I had to send a file to my client." Another pause. "So you had time to send a file, but not to answer my call." She apologized, though deep inside she knew she had done nothing wrong. That evening, she almost sent him a screenshot of her meeting schedule, just to prove she was telling the truth. But she stopped, because somewhere deep inside, a painful thought had appeared. Why was she collecting evidence to prove her innocence? A few days later, they met at their favorite cafe to discuss wedding plans. Guest lists, decorations, budgets, everything looked perfect. Then Aarti's phone vibrated. A bank transfer notification flashed on the screen. Rahul noticed it. Another transfer. She quietly locked the phone. "It's something urgent at home." Rahul looked concerned. "Aarti, we're getting married. Don't I deserve to know where our savings are going?" She lowered her eyes. The money was helping her younger brother through rehabilitation. Her family had hidden the truth from the world, terrified of gossip and judgment. It wasn't her secret alone to reveal, but Rahul saw only silence. "Trust needs transparency," he said softly. "I shouldn't have to guess what's happening." Aarti wanted to explain. But lately, every conversation felt less like love and more like a courtroom where she stood waiting to defend herself. The meeting ended awkwardly. Outside, the skies had opened. Mumbai disappeared beneath sheets of monsoon rain. Aarti didn't even bother opening her umbrella. She simply walked. A phone call interrupted the silence. It was Kabir, her childhood friend. She answered, but couldn't speak. Kabir heard only the rain. Then he said quietly, "You're nearby, aren't you?" She didn't reply. "I'll keep the kettle on." And he hung up. No questions, no interrogation, no need for explanations. Kabir opened the door before she could knock. He looked at her drenched clothes, her tired eyes, and the sadness she was trying so hard to hide. Without asking a single question, he handed her a towel and a steaming cup of ginger tea. The old radio in the corner played a soft instrumental melody. Minutes passed. Finally, Aarti looked up. "You don't want to know why I'm here?" Kabir smiled. "If you want to tell me, I'll listen. And if I don't..." He took a sip of his tea. "Then we'll just sit here and finish ours before it gets cold." For the first time in months, Aarti felt her heart become lighter. She had almost forgotten what it felt like to be with someone who didn't immediately assume the worst. As the rain tapped gently against the window, old memories returned. When they were 10 years old, Aarti had lost the little watch her grandfather had gifted her. She was terrified to go home. While everyone searched and scolded, Kabir quietly took off his own watch and slipped it into her hand. "You can return it tomorrow," he whispered. He never asked how she lost the first one. Years later, when Aarti left a secure corporate job to follow her dream of becoming an artist, her family called her irresponsible. Kabir spent the evening helping her pack her desk into cardboard boxes. He never asked whether she was making a mistake. He simply believed that if she had chosen the path, she must have had a reason. And then there was the art competition. At 16, Aarti had worked for months preparing a painting for a state-level contest. She failed to win anything. She locked herself in her room, refusing to speak to anyone. The next morning, she found a small envelope outside her door. Inside was a packet of sketch pencils and a handwritten note. It said only, "Maybe this door closed because your real canvas is somewhere else. Call me when you feel like drawing again." No lecture, no advice, no questions, just quiet faith. Because some people don't heal your wounds by asking 100 questions. They heal them simply by standing beside you. A week later, Aarti and Rahul attended a small family gathering. In the middle of dinner, her mother called. Aarti stepped outside. Her younger brother had suffered a difficult day at the rehabilitation center. Her mother was frightened. Aarti spoke gently, comforting her. When she returned, Rahul was waiting. You could have told me where you were going. It was my mother. For 12 minutes, the words were not loud. They were not angry, but there was suspicion hiding beneath them. On the drive home, Rahul said quietly, "Marriage works only when there are no secrets." Aarti looked out of the window and replied, "And it survives only when there is trust." Neither of them spoke for the rest of the journey. 2 days later, they met again to finalize wedding arrangements. Rahul had spreadsheets open across the table: budgets, plans, future investments. Then he looked at her. "Spoke to your father?" Aarti froze. "Told me about your brother. Is that where the money has been going?" She nodded silently. Rahul sighed. "You should have told me. I need to know exactly what I'm marrying into." Problems like these don't just disappear. Aarti looked at him for a long moment. Suddenly, she wasn't hearing only these words. She remembered the missed calls, the WhatsApp questions, the family dinner, the dozens of little moments where she had felt the need to explain, justify, defend. She gently closed Rahul's laptop. He looked confused. "What are you doing?" She took a deep breath. "Rahul, this isn't about my brother anymore. I don't understand. If I explain everything today, there will be something else tomorrow. Another phone call, another delay, another silence I'll have to defend." She looked down at the engagement ring on her finger. "I've spent months trying to prove that I'm the person you already know I am." She carefully removed the ring and placed it on the table. "You are not a bad man, and maybe I'm not a perfect woman. But love shouldn't feel like a monthly performance review. If my character always needs proof, then maybe what we have isn't trust." And with that, she stood up and quietly walked away. Oddly enough, she didn't feel broken. She felt free. That evening, Aarti stood alone at Marine Drive, watching the sun disappear into the Arabian Sea. The wind was cool. The waves crashed gently against the rocks. A motorcycle stopped nearby. Kabir walked over and stood beside her. He noticed her bare ring finger. He noticed the tears she was trying to hide. But he didn't ask what happened. He didn't ask whether the wedding was over. He simply took a paper cup from his bag. "Ginger tea," he smiled. "I thought you might need it." She laughed softly. "You didn't ask me anything." Kabir looked out toward the sea. "If you want to tell me, you'll tell me. And if I don't," he smiled, "then I know you well enough to believe you had your reasons." For a long time, neither of them spoke. And somehow, nothing needed to be said. Life has taught me that the people we love deserve honesty. But there is a world of difference between sharing your truth and constantly defending your character. Healthy relationships are not built because two people explain everything perfectly. They are built because one heart chooses to believe in another. Questions are natural, suspicion is not. The finest relationships are not those where nothing ever needs to be explained. They are the ones where understanding arrives before judgment and trust arrives before proof. So, if life blesses you with even one person who says, "You don't have to explain, I know you, I trust you," hold on to them. Because in a world full of noise, misunderstandings, and endless justifications, an unspoken bond is one of life's rarest and most beautiful gifts. And remember, a good relationship does not demand endless explanations. It welcomes understanding.